Welcome back to BrassTacks. Incessant rains have wreaked havoc across the state of Uttarakhand.
In Champawat district, this school bus was washed away as it tried to move across a flooded road. Thankfully, there were no students in the bus and the driver and conductor were safely evacuated. The situation was equally grim along the Kotdwar-Pauri route. Heavy rains wreaked havoc on the hilly terrain and stopped vehicular movement. Commuters were left stranded in the pouring rain. Meanwhile, in Ramnagar, the national highway was closed after a tree fell on the road after heavy rains. This caused a massive pile-up for hours on end.
Most students have come forward and complained that they were forced to take off their bra before writing the NEET exam in a centre in Kannur in Kerala. 5 people have been arrested in connection with the incident. The National Commission of Women too has taken cognizance and issued a notice to the Kerala DGP. Former Kerala legislator and Youth Congress State Vice President K.S. Shabarinathan has been arrested in connection with a conspiracy to protest against Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan inside an Indigo flight back in June. This after a WhatsApp message by Shabarinathan called for a protest against Vijayan inside an airline. The second autopsy of a 17-year-old student who was found dead in a hostel in Tamil Nadu's Kallakurichi has been completed. The Supreme Court had turned down a request from the girl's parents to give them a doctor of their choice for the post-mortem. Meanwhile, Kallakurichi SP has been transferred just days after violent protests over the girl's death. The Aam Aadmi Party claims that the recruitment application form for the Indian Army asks for caste and religion certificates. The party stated that this was being done for the first time in history, but the centre pointed out that this system has always existed since the British times.
मैं यह स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं कि यह पूरी तरह से अफवाह है। जो पहले व्यवस्था थी, हमारे आजादी के पहले से वही व्यवस्था अब तक जो है चली आ रही है, उसमें कहीं पर कोई परिवर्तन नहीं हुआ है।
The Indian Air Force is all set to get a big boost. 6 squadrons of the light combat aircraft will be inducted very soon. In fact, the order is for 4 squadrons of the LCA, the Mark 1A, which have already been placed. 7 squadrons of the advanced medium combat aircraft will soon be out as well. 114 multi-role fighter aircraft will be inducted as well. Inducting the aircraft only under Make in India program, which of course will be a boost for local manufacturing. Rescue and relief work is on in full swing in flood-hit Maharashtra.
In Chandrapur, teams of the NDRF and SDRF waded through waist-deep water to try and reach stranded residents. Boats were also brought out for the rescue operations as Chandrapur remained inundated. In order to evacuate people safely, NDRF and SDRF personnel used loudspeakers to try and give residents a heads up. That's when people came out of their flooded homes and gathered in one designated place. With rivers in Wardha and Spate, several dam gates were opened to release excess water. But several people ended up getting trapped in the fast-flowing water. That's when SDRF personnel jumped in and carried out a dramatic rescue operation.
There's another setback for Uddhav Thackeray after Shiv Sena's 12 MPs joined the Eknath Shinde camp. Rahul Shivale has been appointed as the leader of the Shiv Sena in the Lok Sabha. A new chief whip has also been appointed. These MPs have decided to back the NDA's vice presidential candidate Jagdeep Dhankar in the upcoming elections. Former Mumbai Police Commissioner Sanjay Pandey has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in the phone tapping case. The arrest comes after he was grilled by the agency for over 3 hours on the illegal phone tapping of NSC personnel. This was allegedly done between 2009 and 2017. Several countries in Europe are in the grip of a severe heat wave, with Britain touching its record temperatures today.
One of the worst hit is United Kingdom. For the first time in the country's history, temperatures touched 40 degrees Celsius. Roads are melting and power cuts are rising as UK swelters in the heat. Even runways were impacted by the heat, forcing several aircrafts to divert. An 8-day-long heat wave in Spain has triggered massive wildfires. Passengers in a train watched in horror as a wildfire tore through vegetation near the track in the northwestern province of Zamora. The train was travelling between Madrid and Ferrol but was forced to halt due to the wildfire. Paris is also sweltering in unusually high temperatures. For the second day in a row, temperatures soared above 37 degrees Celsius. Experts say the early heat wave is a sign of what's to come as climate change takes a toll.
Former UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak has won the latest round of voting to replace British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Sunak has increased his tally from yesterday, bringing him even closer to being one of the top two candidates who will go head-to-head to be elected as the new Conservative Party leader and the Prime Minister of Britain. So let's take a look at where things stand today after the fourth round of voting. Rishi Sunak has got 118 votes. Remember, you need 120 to go through into the final two face-off. Penny Mordaunt, who used to be also a minister in the Boris Johnson cabinet, she got 92 votes. She's consistently been coming number two. But the big surprise and the big climber has been Liz Truss, who was the foreign secretary in Boris Johnson's government. She's jumped up to 86 votes. Kemi Badenoch, who also used to be the Equalities Minister, she has now opted out of this contest after she finished number 4. So the contest tomorrow is going to be between these three, between Sunak, Mordaunt and Liz Truss, and one of them, in fact two of them, will remain standing, who will go into the final clash that's going to happen later on. Meanwhile, let's move on here on BrassTacks Superfast to Sri Lanka, where the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has withdrawn from the presidential race. Premadasa announced the decision on Twitter. He said that he was withdrawing his candidacy for the greater good of the country and supporting rival candidate Dulles Alaperuma. In fact, the Sri Lankan parliament will tomorrow meet and elect a new president, and the fight seems to be between Ranil Wickremesinghe, the interim president right now, and Dulles Alaperuma. Now, let's take a look at the three men who are in the race to be the next president of Sri Lanka. Ranil Wickremesinghe, of course, is the current acting president. He's backed by the ruling SLPP, which is the party of the Rajapakshas. Dulles Alaperuma is a senior leader, again from the SLPP. He's been a multiple-time legislator. He's a lawmaker from Matara in the southern part of the country. He's considered to be a dark horse in this race. Also, the final one is the JVP leader, Aruna Kumara Dissanayaka. In fact, he is from the left-wing Janata Vimukti Peramuna. He's a strong critic of Prime Minister Wickremesinghe as well as the Rajapakshas, but he's thought of to be as too radical a candidate to be leading the country at a critical time such as this. Meanwhile, back home, day 2 of the monsoon session of Parliament was rocked by opposition-led protests.
Despite no protests or demonstrations being allowed inside the Parliament complex, opposition MPs gathered in front of Mahatma Gandhi's statue. Congress's Rahul Gandhi, NCP MP Supriya Sule and Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Shiv Sena stood side by side and protested over price rise. They held placards on inflation and raised slogans against the government. The protest comes a day after the goods and services tax on packaged food items came into force.
जो टैक्स जीएसटी टैक्स उन्होंने लगाया है उसके बारे में हम अंदर जाकर अपनी बात भी रखेंगे और लड़ेंगे.
The drama continued inside the House, with opposition MPs interrupting proceedings.
सदन के अंदर तख्तियां लेकर आना उचित नहीं है.
Opposition MPs are also demanding a discussion on price rise and GST.
Well, after a viral video of some men offering namaz at a mall in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has warned of strict action over unnecessary remarks and staging demonstrations to obstruct the movement of people. 4 of the 8 men seen offering namaz have been arrested.
सांप्रदायिक विद्वेष की स्थिति पैदा करने का जो कुत्सित प्रयास हो रहा है, सड़कों पर या पूजा के लिए या किसी भी अन्य कार्यक्रम के लिए कोई जगह नहीं होनी चाहिए और इसको किसी भी प्रकार की अनुमति नहीं दी जानी चाहिए.
A day after upholding their conviction, a Delhi court has released Sushil and Gopal Ansal for the period that they had already undergone for tampering with evidence in the 1997 Upar cinema fire. The court took note of the old age of the convicts while deciding on the quantum of punishment. Israel is reportedly preparing to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, and here's what the trigger is. Khamenei's top aide claims that Iran can make nuclear bombs. In fact, this aide went on to claim that Iran has not decided whether to build one. Iran already has enriched up to 60% of uranium. under the 2015 nuclear deal. In fact, Israel claims it may have to act against this nuclear threat. US President Joe Biden was in the region just a few days ago. He's vowed to stop Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon at all costs. A Haryana police officer was run over by a truck while he was conducting a check on illegal mining.
This image sums up the terror of the mining mafia in Haryana. Deputy Superintendent of Police Surinder Singh was run over by a truck in the New district. His crime? He was on a mission to stop illegal mining. Singh had reached the spot after he got information about illegal mining being carried out. The police officer saw a truck in the vicinity and signaled the driver to stop. He then asked the truck driver for his license and papers. The stone-laden truck driver panicked, sped up the truck and ran over the cop. Singh was rushed to the hospital where doctors declared him dead.
बहुत दुखद ये घटना हुई है। हमारी सांत्वना हम परिवार के साथ भी और उस परिवार की भी जिसकी क्षति हुई है उसके साथ भी खड़े हैं।
Despite a Supreme Court ban dating back to 2009, mining has continued unabated at several places in the Aravalis.
Well, at least 20 people have died and another 30 are missing after a boat capsized in the river in central Pakistan. The boat carrying more than 100 people was heading to a wedding when it capsized in the Indus River. In Siddaramaiah, the passengers were mostly women and children. Russian President Vladimir Putin is in Iran. It's his only second foreign trip since he invaded Ukraine back in February. He met with Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi in Tehran. The visit is essential in a bid to try and deepen ties with Iran, which is one of the few remaining international allies that Russia still has. The Nord Stream 1 pipeline has been closed for maintenance and it's making Germany squirm. In fact, gas deliveries from Russia to Germany have dropped to zero right now. Germany depends very heavily on natural gas from Russia to power its industry. German industry would be forced to cut its energy use. Possible ripple effects can be felt throughout the German economy. In fact, a complete shutoff to flows to Germany may even trigger a Europe-wide recession. French footballer Timuyi Bakayoko, who plays for AC Milan, was stopped by Italian police at gunpoint during a search operation. The video shows a police officer searching the footballer who is leaning against a car. Police later realized that it's a case of mistaken identity and then apologized to him. National award-winning filmmaker Mani Ratnam has been admitted to hospital in Chennai after testing positive for COVID. The 66-year-old has been hospitalized at a time when post-production work for his upcoming magnum opus Ponniyin Selvan is going on. The historical drama will hit screens on the 30th of September. This shocking video of a beach in Mumbai shows garbage littered for as long as the eye can see. Despite several warnings and awareness campaigns, it seems that people in Mumbai simply can't seem to stop throwing garbage into the sea, and that in turn is getting washed up on shore. After the video went viral, authorities conducted clean-up drives to clear the filth accumulated on the beach. With that, it's a wrap. In a moment, Maria Shakil will join you with News Epicenter.
CNN News 18 is New India's #1 news choice. Trounces. Times now.